Morning, boys and girls. It's good to be with you, and I think this might be your first week of school holidays. So I hope you're enjoying yourself and getting out and about. Well, one of my favorite creatures is the hippopotamus, and this book by Bob Hartman is called "Time to Go Hippo." I've actually met a few hippopotami in the wild. I was in Central Africa once upon a time, many years ago. Sorry, the pages are a bit stuck together. It's been a well-used book. There's a monster in the rice field, said the farmers, as they ran terrified into town. It's trampling our crops. There's the monster. A monster, said the mayor. What does it look like? All the farmers talked at once. It has stomping feet and chomping teeth. It's big and bumpy and grey. Sounds like a hippopotamus, said a voice from the crowd. It was Barnabas, who was an old monk who lived in the desert. Not a monster, a hippo, the old man cried. But it has stomping feet, it has chomping teeth, and it's big and bumpy and grey. Then we must drive it away, announced the mayor. Grab your weapons, everyone. But old Barn just shook his head. It's only a hippo. Hope they don't hurt it. There they are, grabbing their weapons. And the farmers held their weapons tight. High, wheat thrashers and rat smashers, hay slashers and potato mashers. Potato mashers. Broomsticks and rakes and clubs. Time to go, Hippo, the mayor shouted. And the beast just stood there and blinked. And so the farmers charged, waving their wheat thrashers and shaking their hay slashers and swinging their broomsticks and clubs. Patiently, Hippo watched the farmers. Calmly, he stopped his chewing, then suddenly he opened his wide mouth and roared. And the sound of that roar was so terrible that it filled the heart of every farmer with fear. They dropped their rat smashers, they flung away their potato mashers, and they ran back terrified into town. Just a little thing you should know about hippos. It's considered one of the most dangerous animals in Africa. You don't get between a hippo and water. More stuck together pages. Stomping feet they panted, chomping teeth they puffed, big and bumpy and noisy and grey. It's just a hippo, Barnabas said. Perhaps I can help. Nonsense, shouted the mayor. You're no match for that monster. What we need are the hounds. And so the town people brought out their beasts, beagles and bassets, boxers and bloodhounds, and one big bad bulldog. This is not right, said old Barnabas. These are all God's creatures, and some of them are going to get hurt. But the mayor ignored him. Off to the hunt, he shouted. And there's the dogs. Rawr. When the animals reached the field, the mayor shouted, Time to go, Hippo! Still, Hippo would not budge. And so, barking and baying, yipping and yapping, and baring their sharp white teeth, the hounds raced towards Hippo. Patiently, Hippo watched them. Calmly, he stopped his chewing. Then once again he opened wide his mouth and he roared. Roar. And the force of that roar was so powerful that it sent the beasts flying. Beagles and bassets, bloodhounds and boxers, and one big bad bulldog went sailing back across the field, over the crowd and into the town. Stomping feet, cried the townspeople. Chomping teeth, they gasped. Big and bumpy and powerful and grey. But old Barnabas just sighed as a basset went bouncing by. The army, cried the mayor. We must call out the army. So messengers were sent, And in no time the army arrived, generals and majors, corporals and captains, with catapults and chariots and battering rams. Barnabas shook his head. Please, Big, let me try to get rid of the hippo before somebody else gets hurt. I shouldn't worry about that, grinned the mayor. Ha ha ha, that hippo is met his match. And he marched off with the army to the rice field. Time to go, Hippo, the mayor called to the beast. And once again the hippo kept on chewing as if nothing had happened at all. And so the soldiers and the charged across the field, aiming their catapults, racing their chariots, and heaving high their battering rams. Patiently Hippo watched them. Calmly he stopped his chewing. Then once again he opened wide his mouth and roared. And the smell of that roar was so foul that it turned the bravest soldier green. Back raced the generals and the majors, the generals and the majors. Back raced the corporals and captains, back into town, far from that awful smell. But a bad breath. I've had enough of this, Barnabas sighed, and he hurried to the marketplace where he begged 2 tiny potatoes, a couple of plump parsnips, and some yellow large onions. Then he picked up his sturdy wooden staff and set off to the rice field. There he got them from the lady in the market. On the way he passed the mayor. Stomping feet he moaned, chomping teeth he wept. Big and bumpy and smelly and grey. I know, Barnabas nodded, but I think I can make him go away. Barnabas prayed a little prayer and walked across the field. As he walked, he stuck the potatoes in his ears and pushed the parsnips up his nose. Then he planted the staff as firmly as he could in the soft ground and held on for dear life. Patiently, the hippo watched him. Calmly, he stopped chewing, and then not once, not twice, but 3 times he roared. But because Barnabas had squeezed the spuds into his ears, the noise he roared did not scare him. And because he poked the parsnips up his nose, the roary smell did not offend him. And because he'd stuck his stick in the ground, the powerful roar did not blow him away. Now then, he said to the hippo, when the roaring stopped, it's time for us to talk. A few minutes later, the old man and the hippo walked back from the field together until they reached the trembling mayor. How did you do it? Asked the mayor. How did you make the hippo move? It was simple, the monk said. I told him we were sorry for the way we had treated him. I explained that we were all God's creatures and that it's important for us to get along. So he needed to leave your rice alone and go back to where he belonged. Finally, and here the old man grinned and reached into his pouch, I offered him one of these. An onion? Said the mayor. Hippos love them, Barnabas beamed. It's something I discovered by watching them, something I would have never learned by chasing them. And with that he popped another onion into his friend the hippo's mouth. Time to go, Hippo, said Barnabas. He smiled, and the old monk and the monster, so-called, walked off into the desert. Well, it's a lovely story about things we fear. And a hippo is something to be feared in Africa. But they're also something to befriend and appreciate and realize there's other ways out of crises rather than bringing in armies and snarling dogs and all that. Sometimes it just takes something as little as a little old onion. Have a lovely week. Bless you all.